if you're doing the backpacker thing, talk to everybody, meet everybody. There's no easier people to meet in the world than backpackers or fellow Western travelers. It's just like everybody, when everybody's on vacation, everybody wants to meet new people. Everybody. Like it's impossible to get blown out in a traveling situation when you're with other travelers. So like if you're in a hostel and there are two cute girls at the bar, just go sit and say like, hey, where are you from? That's it. Never fails. You can talk to anybody, hang out with anybody. Oh, and finally, hostels tend, like backpacking crowds, they tend to be more guys than girls. Don't be intimidated by the guys. Backpacker guys have absolutely no game whatsoever. In fact, it can be kind of hilarious to like watch them shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly. So don't be intimidated by it, and don't let it stop you. And some of them are really nice and cool guys, so hang out with them and talk to them. And finally, some of the effects of hooking up abroad is that, like I said, there's the exotic factor, so there's kind of a greater sense of passion and romance. You run into a lot of difficulties with language barriers, so it can be, you get this ironic thing where like it's harder to actually communicate clearly, but because it's harder to communicate clearly, it creates more sexual tension. So it's actually a really cool experience. It's maybe not ideal for like a relationship, but in terms of like having a really like kind of emotional weekend or something like that, it's really awesome, especially if you're like in a beautiful beach and surfing and doing crazy stuff. Like it can be an awesome experience. In my experience, traveling has hardened my confidence, like solidified my confidence as much as anything else I've done. Partly is because you're constantly faced with new cultures and new expectations all the time, and so it really forces you. I mean, everywhere you go, you don't know what is socially expected of you, and so you don't know how to perform anymore. I mean, it's impossible to keep up performing when you're on the road and in a lot of these different cultures, and so it forces you to actually deal and come to terms with being open and just putting yourself out there. You're going to feel awkward, you're going to feel rejected, you're going to feel lonely, you're going to feel stupid sometimes, but that's just part of it. And when you get used to that, it builds a very real and lasting confidence. I honestly think a number of guys I've spoken to have said, they said, I went and backpacked through South America for 6 months. It's the best thing I ever did. It was better than 3 years of doing this game stuff. A lot of coaches I've talked to have said, like, I went and spent 3 months in Europe, and that's one of the best things I ever did in my life. Not just the stuff I saw, but like it really, like being alone, being vulnerable, not understanding what I was doing or who I was talking to, having to risk myself socially all the time, just build my confidence up so much more than anything else I've ever done. So for that reason, I recommend, traveling not only as a leisure tool, as something to do to enjoy. I also believe in travel on a philosophical level. I think, as humans, we get one life. We should understand the world that we live in as much as possible. But as a self-development tool on top of that, it's one of the most useful things you can do for your confidence and your self-esteem. And so I highly recommend it. Boom.